The Galactic Military Academy's combat arena gleamed under artificial sunlight, its polished floors reflecting the eager faces of cadets from 100 different worlds. Mia stood at the edge of the sparring circle, her human frame appearing almost comically small compared to the towering forms around her. At barely 5'6", she was dwarfed by the average Zenthari warrior, outsized by the crystalline Vexari, and looked positively fragile next to the hulking Kron battle breeds. Instructor Valthor, a seasoned Dravixian veteran with forearms and scales that had seen 3 wars, surveyed his class with ancient eyes. Today, his voice boomed across the arena, we test practical combat applications. No weapons, no enhancements, pure skill. A ripple of excitement passed through the assembled cadets. Combat class was always the highlight of the week, but practical examinations were rare treats. The chance to prove oneself against peers from across the galaxy was what many had traveled light years to experience. First pairing, Valthor consulted his holographic display. Cadet Mia Chan Earth, Cadet Voresh, Kron Prime. The laughter started immediately. Voresh, a mountain of muscle and aggression standing nearly 8 feet tall, grinned with rows of predatory teeth. His people had conquered 17 systems through martial prowess alone. Kron warriors trained from birth in their planet's crushing gravity, developing strength that could bend steel and reflexes honed by hunting apex predators that would terrify most species. The soft skin? One cadet whispered loud enough to carry. She'll be broken in seconds. I heard humans come from a world so gentle. They need artificial structures just to stay warm. Another added, mandibles clicking in amusement. Mia stepped into the circle, her expression neutral. She'd heard it all before during her 3 months at the academy. Earth was classified as a Class 7 death world by galactic standards, but that rating meant nothing to species who'd never set foot on her homeworld. To them, humans were the newcomers, the weak ones, the species that somehow stumbled into space travel despite having no natural armor, no venomous fangs, no enhanced strength. They didn't know. None of them knew. Ken, her roommate and one of the few humans at the academy, leaned against the barrier. Show them, he said quietly, though his eyes gleamed with anticipation. He'd seen what Mia could do. Voresh lumbered into the circle, making the floor vibrate with each step. He performed a traditional Kron battle salute, slamming his fists together with a sound like thunder. I will try to be gentle, human. You are fragile. Thank you, Mia replied, her voice calm. I'll try the same. More laughter from the crowd. Valthor raised one of his hands. Standard Academy rules. First to yield, lose consciousness, or exit the circle loses. Begin. Voresh charged immediately, a tactical error born from overconfidence. His species' fighting style relied on overwhelming force and intimidation. Against most opponents, it worked perfectly. Mia wasn't most opponents. She moved. To the assembled cadets, it seemed almost impossible. One moment she stood still. The next, she'd float aside like water, Voresh's massive fist passing through empty air where her head had been milliseconds before. The Kron warrior's momentum carried him forward and Mia's foot snapped out, catching his ankle. It wasn't just a trip. Mia had calculated angle, velocity, and the warrior's center of gravity in a fraction of a second. Voresh, moving at full charge, suddenly found his support gone at the exact moment his weight was most committed. He went down like a falling building. Before he could recover, Mia was there. She'd learned early that humanity's greatest advantages weren't strength or speed in absolute terms. They were adaptability, endurance, and most importantly, creativity. While other species trained in traditional forms refined over millennia, humans approached combat like they approached everything else, as a problem to be solved. Her knee found the nerve cluster at Voresh's shoulder. Most species had them in roughly the same place. Her hand struck precisely at the pressure point below his ear. Both techniques were human in origin, developed over thousands of years of humans fighting each other. Pressure points, joint locks, leverage over strength. These were the tools of a species that had evolved in constant competition with itself. Voresh roared and tried to rise, his natural strength still formidable. Mia shifted her weight, using his own movement against him, and suddenly the massive warrior found his arm twisted at an angle that sent shooting pain through his nervous system. She'd locked his elbow while using her body weight as leverage against his shoulder. 3 seconds had passed since Valthor said, "Begin." "Yield," Mia said quietly. Voresh struggled for another moment, then felt his shoulder joint beginning to separate. "I yield," he gasped. Mia released him immediately, stepping back and offering a hand. The Kron warrior stared at it in disbelief before accepting, allowing the tiny human to help him to his feet. The arena had gone completely silent. Valthor's scaled face showed something that might have been satisfaction. Time 4.3 seconds. New Academy record for fastest submission. Ken was grinning now. He'd been at the Academy for a year, long enough to understand what the other cadets were just beginning to realize. Humans didn't look dangerous because they'd evolved in an environment so hostile that being dangerous was the only way to survive. Earth hadn't just produced persistence hunters who could track prey for days. It had created a species that could adapt to nearly any environment, learn any skill, and most terrifyingly, innovate in combat. "Would anyone else like to challenge Cadet Chen?" Valthor asked, his tone suggesting he already knew the answer. A Zenthari cadet, nearly 7 feet of streamlined muscle and advanced reflexes, stepped forward. Then another. By the end of the class, Mia had faced 7 opponents. She'd won every match in under 20 seconds. The final challenger was Krella, the Academy's combat champion for the past 2 cycles. A Dravixian like Valthor, he had 4 arms, enhanced reflexes, and experience fighting opponents from dozens of worlds. He'd never been defeated in the arena. "I will not underestimate you." "Human," Krellick said respectfully as they faced each other. "I appreciate that," Mia replied. Valthor signaled the start. Krellick fought nothing like Voresh. He was careful, measured, using his reach advantage while staying balanced and defensive. His forearms created a defensive web that seemed impenetrable, probing for weaknesses while giving nothing away. Mia studied him, circling slowly. This was the part most species didn't understand about humans, their ability to analyze, adapt, and overcome. Humans had spent millennia fighting each other with every weapon imaginable, and developing counters to each one. When other species fought, they relied on instinct and training. Humans relied on strategy. 15 seconds passed. 30. The crowd watched in fascination as the small human and the champion circled each other. Then Mia moved. She feinted left, and when 2 of Krellick's arms moved to intercept, she dropped low and swept his legs. Not all of them, just the one supporting most of his weight. As he stumbled, trying to catch himself with his hands, Mia was already behind him. She jumped, using his back as a platform, and her arm wrapped around his throat in a rear naked choke, a technique refined over centuries of human combat sports. Krellick's had 4 arms, but none of them could reach the human on his back. He tried to throw her off, but she'd locked her legs around his torso, distributing her weight in a way that made her nearly impossible to dislodge without the leverage to grab her properly. 10 seconds later, Krellick tapped out. The arena exploded with shocked chatter. Valthor allowed himself what might have been a smile. "Class dismissed. I suggest you all revise your assumptions about threat assessment." As the cadets filed out, many approaching Mia with newfound respect and questions about human combat techniques, Ken joined her at the edge of the arena. "Think they've learned their lesson?" he asked. Mia shrugged, rubbing her shoulder. Krellick had landed 1 hit, and even pulling his punch, it had hurt. Some of them, the smart ones. "You know what this means, right? Everyone's going to want to challenge the human now." "You've made us all interesting." Mia smiled slightly. "Good. Maybe they'll stop assuming soft skin means soft fighter." Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, different species had evolved different advantages. Strength, speed, natural weapons, enhanced senses. Earth had given humanity something perhaps more valuable: the absolute determination to survive and thrive in a world that constantly tried to kill them, and the creativity to find a way to win against any opponent. The other species would learn, Mia thought. They always did. Humans hadn't clawed their way to the stars by being weak. They'd done it by being stubborn, adaptable, and willing to fight for every inch. And in a galaxy that often judged by appearance, that was a lesson worth teaching.